My paper is titled Communication and Technology. And in my paper, I examine how three different aspects are different from each other. I talk about functionalism as a theoretical perspective, and I talk about how functionalists view communication as one piece of a large puzzle that forms our culture, and they actually can break it down into different parts and look for how each part contributes to overall communication. Basically, they study the goals of communication and what communication achieves. I compared this theory to the theory of structuralism, which examines the origins of communication, as well as viewing communication as a complex structure of the human mind. So they may look at how our actual mind is structured to help us communicate. They may look at the history of communication, how it's changed and evolved. And they also focus more on just the theoretical perspectives and the processes. They have certain theoretical processes that they must follow, and they focus more on the processes than they do for the organization. That would be the structuralist who does that. So they look at how it relates to the human mind as well as how it would do that. In my theoretical perspective, I use the pragmatic approach, which kind of encompasses a little bit of everything. There's no specific theoretical guidelines for it. You just pretty much ask a question. A lot of anthropologists actually like this approach better because you're able to ask the questions. You're able to not have to follow these strict guidelines. And you study mainly from the observations that you do. You answer a question, and that's what most anthropologists, they have a question and we want to know the answer, so we get out there and we answer the questions. It focuses on the biological, the physical, even a little bit of the moral. So that's why I went with this approach, because it gives you more free range of what you want to study. And I think that it fit the question that I asked. And the question that I asked was how communication technology has affected people living in the United States, emotionally, physically, and psychologically. I think there are a lot of new advances in technology that are fairly recent, and that I think they have to have some kind of effect on people, seeing that communication is one of the things that holds our culture together, central. It's always been present. So as I look at my paper, I kind of go into detail about something that people use every day, the cell phone. Talk about how helpful it's been, how much more it has evolved to than just the phone. I mean, it's an internet gaming center, it's your calendar, it can take you to music, you can do all kinds of things like that. But however, it can also have some dangers, as I found. It's a high rate of automobile accidents because of using a cell phone to talk or text while driving. And also the handsets apparently emit a good deal of radiation, and because we have that constant exposure, that phone is always in our pocket or always up to our ear, or someone's wearing a Bluetooth up to their ear, those all emit radiation. And because of the broadening of the networks, there are lots more of the cell phone towers which also emit this radiation, and those are all around us. So we're wondering what kind of effects that can have. That's proven that can be harmful. We just don't know how harmful these levels of radiation are going to be over the long term. So that's something to also think about. And I also examined the internet, which is one of the biggest technological advances that has evolved over the last 20 to 30 years. And it just continues to get better and better and deeper, and there's more information, it's faster, there's more social networking sites, there's more information available to us, there's online classes, universities, education, So many great things that are going to make us maybe even broaden the cultural understanding, because now we have that contact with cultures and people that we may not have had the chance to meet otherwise. We have that right here in your living room, inside your home. You can get on a computer, you can talk to someone else and communicate. And we talk about that being an informational resource also. But there's also some negative aspects to the internet. The social networks sometimes can get a little malicious, and people kind of hurl insults, and they're a little more candid with what they say because you don't actually see the person that you're typing to. So some people feel that they can say pretty much anything, and this kind of detaches us from our physical connection with other human beings that was once present with communication. Communication was usually, throughout history, a face-to-face communication. Most of the communication, besides maybe letters and mail, were face-to-face communications. And it seems that as a culture, we are getting away from that face-to-face communication. So I kind of talk about that and how that is having effects such as depression, loneliness, and just people being kind of rude and not having as much respect for each other as they may have had in the past, because they don't view these people that they talk to online as a real person. They kind of view them as just someone they're typing a message to, and they may not think about this person in the same context as they think of those people who they have face-to-face interaction. And that's basically the gist of my paper. I talk about how communication is central to our culture, and it's going to continue to be central to our culture, as well as affects our health, stability of the individuals, as well as the society. And there may be more rules governing our behavior. There may be more things that we have to think about and considerations that we need to take when using these communication technologies to avoid actual, physical, as well as some of the psychological and emotional impacts. So as we evolve as a culture, we need to think about how we can learn to not desensitize ourselves to other human beings, as well as to not allow this technology to cause physical harm to us. And that was the findings of my paper, and I think that overall we'll resolve ways and we'll be able to keep ourselves healthy, because we're going to always have to communicate with each other. So no matter what the impact is, we'll find a way.